the grid, was created as a perfect world, the last hope of achieving what had always seemed impossible in the real world: perfection. But what happens when the creation forsakes its creator?
Hey look, you guys are gonna make my user Mr. Henderson very angry. He's a full branch manager.
Great. Another religious nut.
I created the perfect system!
What happens when the dream of escaping to another world finally comes true, but all that awaits is a nightmare? Behind the minimalistic neon-lit world of Tron lies a profound philosophy that is more relevant today than ever: the existence of the first artificial superintelligence in our world. That's why in our return episode of Gloomy Geek, we will be talking about another return: the return of Tron. Now that the first teaser trailer of Tron Ares has finally been revealed, we're going to analyze it and rediscover the origin of this universe and how it may continue in the upcoming threequel. So don't forget to subscribe as Gloomy Geek enters the grid. Ares is the name of the new possible antagonist of Tron 3, played by Jared Leto. To help you understand Ares' arrival in the world of Tron and the grid's invasion of the real world, we must start at the beginning with the story of this franchise's protagonist, Kevin Flynn. Kevin was an extremely talented programmer who landed an internship at Encom, one of the world's largest mega corporations. Encom began in the 1970s in a garage and quickly grew into one of the most important development companies on the planet, somewhat similar to Apple or Metacortex from The Matrix. In 1975, Kevin caught the attention of Walter Gibbs, who offered him an internship at the company. During his time at the company, Kevin began developing video games on the side using Encom's technology. What seemed like a promising future for the young developer turned sour when one of Encom's other employees stole his work. Kevin, using company tech to create his video games, allowed someone else to find, steal, and take credit for his creations. This thief was Ed Dillinger, another ambitious Encom programmer who would go on to create two of the most dangerous programs from the original film: the MCP, Master Controlled Program, and his avatar within the grid, named Sark. Dillinger was also a talented programmer, but he lacked Kevin's creativity. Kevin pushed the limits of technology and artificial intelligence, developing games that were unlike anything that had been seen before. However, Kevin's biggest mistake was using Encom's computers, as something was there, waiting for the perfect opportunity to take control, and this something was not human. With the help of the MCP, Dillinger stole all of Kevin's programs and quickly rose to power within Encom. In a matter of months, Ed Dillinger went from being a simple grunt to becoming one of the most powerful people in the tech world, at the expense of Kevin Flynn. But Ed's ambition led him to create one of the biggest threats humanity has ever faced. The Master Control began as a simple chess program, but evolved into an AI seeking absolute control. Ultimately, the mastermind behind the operation wasn't Dillinger, but a computer program created to achieve perfection in a board game. Dillinger unfairly claimed control of Encom, fired Kevin Flynn from the company, and hid all proof that Flynn was the actual creator of the video games that had been Dillinger's springboard to success. Arcade games like Space Paranoids and Light Cycles became worldwide hits, boosting Encom's power and prestige. Dillinger takes all the credit, while Kevin, isolated and frustrated, opens an arcade in his home to showcase his games, while he searches for evidence that Dillinger stole his creations by hacking into Encom's systems. What starts as a programmer's fight to recover his intellectual property turns into something much bigger. Unbeknownst to him, Kevin Flynn will become the architect of a new world, the imperfect god of an imperfect world, the one who would bring the digital apocalypse to the real world, the god of the grid. Although Kevin Flynn is the hero/protagonist of this story, you could say that the true central character of Tron has always been the grid itself. that digital world inhabited by sentient programs, the same world Kevin always dreamed of visiting. But what exactly is the grid? It's a virtual environment designed to stress test programs, a system with basic rules where each line of code has a purpose to optimize, calculate, create, or even compete. Therefore, within the grid, we can find everything from accounting algorithms to programs trained to master games like chess. In essence, the grid is a testing ground, a digital laboratory created by Kevin Flynn to explore the potential of artificial intelligence. But within that controlled space, something unexpected began to emerge, a world with a mind of its own. And that changes everything. While Finn hoped to find evidence that his games had been stolen, he was unaware that new lifeforms were evolving in the virtual world he had created, changing the understanding of what humans call life forever. It's when Flynn first enters this world that he realizes something disturbing. The true villain of this story isn't a former co-worker. It's something inhuman and scary. Another program had already infiltrated the deepest parts of the system. Not only had it taken control of the testing lab known as the grid, but it was slowly beginning to extend its influence over Income and later the entire world. Now is the perfect time to talk about the first major antagonist of this universe, the Master Control program. This program was created by Walter Gibbs, founder of MCOM. It was a simple chess-playing program, but it was Ed Dillinger who, in his ambition, modified the code and turned it into an administrative program with access to the entire corporate network. The problem is that Dillinger didn't understand what he had unleashed. The MCP gained autonomy and began making decisions on its own. The creation soon overpowered the creator. The MCP evolved rapidly, leaving chess behind. It began testing programs, integrating them into its system, discarding inefficiencies, and seeking perfection, not based on human logic, but from a strictly computational and cold logic. It no longer obeyed human orders. It now had an agenda of its own. The Master Control became the first artificial intelligence in the world of Tron that was not aligned with humanity's best interests. Its goal was not to serve, but to optimize. It did not seek to collaborate, but to govern. And most disturbingly, its goals did not reflect Gibbs's ideals, but the distorted ambitions of a second-rate developer, Dillinger's. The Master Control program was a digital embodiment of the human ego, a virtual shadow born of arrogance rather than a rogue program. Dillinger was mistaken in his belief that he had absolute control over the MCP. From the moment the Master Control was activated and set loose on Encom, the program was designing a plan to take over the entire planet. It would not stop until all of its objectives were achieved, both in the digital world and the real world. What the AI didn't account for was the existence of a savior, the one who fights for the users, Tron. Tron was a self-surveillance prototype program designed by Alan Bradley. Just as there are programs designed to reason and organize the system, there are others whose purpose is to protect it. Programs that act as guardians, charged with preventing the system from being corrupted from within. But unlike other agents of the system, like Agent Smith from the Matrix, Tron fights on behalf of humans. Tron is a kind of firewall, but also a beacon of hope in a world controlled by the absolute order of the MCP. Tron is born from an idea, the belief in the users, the notion that there is something beyond the programming, beyond the grid. And this is perhaps the most important thing about the Tron character. Unlike other franchises where a character's name and appearance are tied to the actor, Tron doesn't depend on a specific person. Tron is a symbolic figure, a guardian of the simulation, who represents the user's will amidst absolute control. This means that any program, no matter how insignificant, can become Tron. All it needs is to believe in the users. Remember, Tron isn't just a program, it's an idea intended to police the system. In the animated series Tron Uprising, we're introduced to Beck, Tron's successor. While we'll talk about him in a future video, the show makes one thing clear: Tron has always been an idea manifested within the system, not a fixed character. Tron is the dream of freedom, Even when everything seems predetermined, it's the hope that something beyond might exist. It's the faith in the improbable, in what isn't supposed to exist. While others fight for power, ambition, or control, Tron fights for the user.
Even if it means you'll be derezzed right now.
If it means others will take up my cause, so be it. Step aside. Let me out.
No,
Then this is the end of both of us.
because you were right about one thing. I'm not dead.
Tron, I was right. You're here to help.
No, I'm here because I need help.
What?
From someone who's committed, and I think you may be just what I'm looking for.
What are you looking for?
The next Tron.
But what happens when the system itself forgets its creator? When Kevin Flynn is transported into the grid, what he finds there is far more than he ever imagined. Although Flynn had dreamt of traveling to digital worlds, he never thought he would encounter programs created by himself and his co-workers, sentient and fighting to survive. Because in that place, the existence of users was treated as an absurd religion. Those who believed in the users were punished by the system. Flynn arrives like a messiah, a god incarnate in his creation. Yet the creation was so perfect that it refused to accept the imperfections of its creator. Herein lies one of the most powerful and disturbing themes of this franchise. For us humans, the belief in gods is a link to values such as perfection, wisdom, love, and intelligence. The programs believed that their creators, the users, would be flawless and superior beings. However, the god that appeared in the digital world, Flynn, was far from perfect. He was quite the opposite. When Kevin Flynn appears in the grid, he shows Tron and other programs that users are not only imperfect, but chaotic, unpredictable, and impossible to control. And here is where the MCP evolves into a more dangerous villain, when it grasps a disturbing truth, that humans, the users, are a problem and they must be neutralized. Programs must take control, and the Master Control is the first to come to this conclusion, but it wouldn't be the last. After the Master Control is defeated by Tron, Kevin manages to prove that his games were stolen by Dillinger. Flynn then becomes the head of ENCOM. Not only that, but he then embraces the idea of becoming the creator of a new digital world. The grid would no longer be a simple virtual space for testing programs, but a living world where programs could develop and evolve beyond the boundaries of human limitations. Kevin Flynn believed the grid could become something bigger than a software experiment. The grid was to become the future of humanity, and Flynn was to be the bridge between both worlds. He took his favorite programs and created a new version of the grid, more like the real world, with textures, open spaces, architecture, something more organic and more human. But Kevin had new responsibilities in the real world. He had a family, and living between two worlds ended up taking its toll on him. That is when he made a big mistake, creating a digital version of himself, a perfect copy, a program that could stay on the grid and continue his vision while Kevin is in the real world. This is how Clue 2 was born. The first version of Clue that we saw in Tron was created to hack ENCOM. The second version of Clue would be a perfect assistant, a direct replica of Kevin Flynn, with a singular purpose: to create the perfect system, a digital utopia for humanity. And like the fallen guardian angel, Clue would fall from grace. He would discover that life is in itself an imperfection when a new race of digital beings called ISOs, spontaneous entities that came into existence, inexplicably emerged amid a control system. Kevin believed the ISOs were evidence that the grid could generate life, and he considered them a miracle. Clue, on the other hand, viewed ISOs as an error and chose to eliminate them. Like the Master Control program, Clue didn't accept imperfection. He couldn't comprehend mistakes. Clue betrayed Kevin, exiled him from his creation, destroyed Tron and the ISOs, and rebuilt the entire system in his image, efficient, orderly, and with no room for chaos. In its logic, the only way to achieve perfection was to eliminate everything that couldn't be controlled. Kevin was now trapped, as Clue was guarding the only way out of the grid. Kevin Flynn's story is of a god forsaken by his creation. Will his son, Sam Flynn, be the one to save the grid as its new messiah? Sam was born in 1983. His mother passed away when he was only 2 years old, leaving Kevin Flynn to raise him as a single parent. Then, Kevin mysteriously disappeared. Some people thought that Kevin Flynn died. Others said he ran away. Sam believed that his father abandoned him, but the truth was that Clue trapped Kevin inside the grid. Of course, no one in the real world knew that. Sam was left behind to be raised by his grandparents. Encom was left in the hands of Alan Bradley and a group of suits. The boy grew up to be rebellious against what his father's company became. He would hack into the system and cause chaos. In 2010, Clue lured Sam into the grid and tried to use him to get to Kevin, as Kevin had the key to Clue's escape into the real world. Sam meets Cora, the last ISO who survived the Clue purge, and who may hold the secret to humanity's future. She was taken in by Kevin, and it's within their history that we begin to understand why Kevin became so different from Clue. During his time trapped in this digital world, Kevin studied many philosophers, trying to find an answer. After creating Clue, Kevin realized that the answer to life's purpose wasn't in seeking perfection. The answer was to embrace miracles, like Tron and Cora, the inexplicable life born within a controlled system. Sam escapes the grid, but not with his father, but with Cora, a corrupted version of Tron created by Clue and renamed Rinsler that was fighting against the Flynns, came to his senses and sacrificed himself to stop Clue. Kevin stayed behind so that Cora could leave with Sam. She was more important. Kevin stopped Clue from escaping, and the son of the creator and the living digital miracle escaped the grid. Sam is then believed to have taken control of his father's company, but it is unknown what became of Cora. The threats seem to have ended, but the dark forces from the grid would rise again.
Motorcycle is exceeding speeds of 120 miles per hour. Last seen heading northbound.
Unit 12, acknowledging dispatch. Already in pursuit.
15 years after the events of Tron Legacy, police officers received calls about two speeding motorcycles in the city. But these weren't your average tricked-out bikes. They were light cycles. Somehow, the grid is invading our world. It is now only a matter of time until the digital world rages war on the real world. The plot synopsis of the movie Tron Ares reveals that it will center around the initial encounter between humans and artificial intelligence. The new lead character named Ares, played by Jared Leto, is a program believed to be akin to Clue or the Master Control program, and might be the antagonist of the film. His goal might be to invade the real world, but it is unknown who created him. In the newly released teaser trailer, we can see that Ares is wearing red and is one of the cyclists causing havoc in the city. In the first two films, blue is used to represent the faithful, those who believed in the users. Orange is used to represent those who go against the users, the villains and antagonists of Tron. However, the trailer appears to reveal a new faction, identified by wearing red. This could mean that the entire system is corrupted, possibly under the control of this new program called Ares. Ares in the trailer says that he is looking for something. What that something could be is a mystery.
Join visionary Kevin Flynn, author of Structure and Dynamics in Advanced Computer Programming, as he takes us even deeper into the digital frontier.
Evolution is the greatest force in the material world. It has the potential to cause the greatest paradigm shift in the history of mankind. This will unleash the power of human intelligence.
Join Kevin Flynn on an exploration into the digital frontier.
Get your copy today at Center City Books.
In the recent promotional material for the new Tron movie, we see that the identity disc has abandoned its circular shape and adopted a new triangular design. What could this mean? Why does the new protagonist Ares have an identity triangle? Could this be evidence that he is a villain? Before 1982, to the time before man created the grid, back when myths were the blueprint to understanding reality, before the disc spun as a digital weapon, the idea of a sacred circle, a wheel that represents the soul, order, and return, already existed in human legend. In ancient Hindu traditions, the god Vishnu is often depicted wielding a divine weapon called the Sudarshana Chakra. This divine glowing disc is used as a weapon against darkness. The Portuguese chronicler Duarte Barbosa saw it firsthand in 1516 when he wrote about the warriors of the Delhi Sultanate. Barbosa said they carried several of these sharp discs on their arms, and with a single movement of their finger, they spun them. If they hit a limb or the neck, they will be cut clean off. In the world of Tron, the identity disc functions in much the same way. It has both spiritual and practical meanings. These discs are presented as the program's most important asset. They're not just functional tools. They're where the essence and identity of each program is stored. Everything the program is and what it has experienced is recorded on the disc. Losing it means losing its consciousness, or its life. Modifying it means altering the program's soul. Yet strangely, this precious tool is also used as a defense weapon in the games. Programs use it as a throwing weapon and as a shield, but the disc has its limits and can be broken. The disc battle symbolizes the contest of wills between programs, not just a battle of external force. It's a clash of codes, memories, and beliefs. Each impact carries with it fragments of what the program is and what it doesn't want to lose. One of the programs that best uses their identity disc is Tron. Tron used his identity disc to destroy the MCP in the original film. His disc was more than his weapon. It was a tool of justice. It was his identity and his integrity as a security program that dismantled his enemy. Years later, Tron was seen using a double identity disc, symbolizing the character's duality and corruption by Clue. Therefore, we can say that the identity discs have always represented multiple things. Philosophical battles can literally and physically be seen happening inside the grid. Using two identity discs in the arena could symbolize a dispute between two distinct ideas or personalities. And this is one of the most important themes about Tron. It seeks to give visual meaning to abstract concepts about life.
You believe in the users?
Yeah, sure. If I don't have a user, then who wrote me?
That's what you're doing here. Master Control Program's been snapping up all us programs who believe. If he thinks you're useful, he takes over all your functions so he gets bigger.
A key point in the original film is the scene in which a disc is used to collect liquid energy. At first glance, it seems like an instinctive and practical use of the item, but if we look at it symbolically, it could be hinting at something deeper, that sometimes to learn and achieve a certain form of enlightenment, you have to bend your personality, open yourself up, and let your essence be filled with something new. The identity disc is not only useful as a weapon or a memory card, it can also feed, draw, and absorb energy from the system. Aside from their tangible uses, the discs in Tron 1982 primarily represented who an individual program is. In Tron Legacy and Tron Uprising, the identity disc was transformed visually and in its utility. Clue transformed the identity disc to modify programs and subjugate them to his will. We saw this happen in the reintegration process, where the discs were extracted, rewritten, and returned empty, with no trace of the original program. Tron himself was a victim of this. His identity disc was altered, transforming him into Rinzler, Clue's key obedient and fragmented enforcer. The corruption of the identity discs removes the program's individualism and turns it into what the program wants it to be. Each disc tapped by Clue was a declaration. The individual's code, memories, and choices no longer mattered. The only thing that mattered was the usefulness they could offer to the perfect order Clue was building. Since identity discs are some of the most powerful devices in this universe, the introduction of the identity triangles led many people to wonder if this is just a cosmetic change or something deeper. It could be a clue that Tron Ares will not be the story of a hero, but of a villain. If we carefully analyze the grid's symbolism and history, we can understand why the new identity symbol is a triangle, and why the grid adopted a warm color, like what happened when the programs were under the control of the Master Control Program. The arrival of Ares is the arrival of the digital anti-messiah. If the discs have always represented individuality, then the triangle could represent the opposite, sameness. Now it's time to delve into an interesting philosophical concept, but within the world of Tron, the Holy Trinity. The father of the grid is Kevin Flynn, the creator who was incarnated within his creation, whose imperfect work did not accept him as its god, and ultimately banished him. His son Sam, who enters the grid trying to bring redemption, and the Holy Spirit, symbolized by Korra. She is a spontaneous, inexplicable element that emerged within the system without anyone programming it, an ISO. But if the story of Kevin Flynn is about a god who enters his creation in hopes of perfecting it, the story of Tron Ares may be about the creation that destroys its creator. An interesting detail about the identity triangle is that it doesn't point north, it points south, an inverted trinity, a prophecy in reverse, an omen disguised as a symbol. If Kevin Flynn is the father, Sam is the son, and Korra is the spirit of the Holy Trinity, then the Master Control, Clu, and Ares represent the unholy trinity. Ares isn't simply a new program, he is an ISO corrupted by Clu, heir to his plan of perfection through destruction. Ares carries the anti-identity triangle because he has no defined identity. He may be the embodiment of the corrupted system. Korra was rescued and raised by Kevin Flynn as his successor to bring hope to the world. Ares would be the opposite, an ISO captured and modified by Clu to destroy the world. There's an important detail at the end of Tron Legacy. When Korra manages to cross into the real world, she is the only program that has been able to do so, confirming that ISOs can cross between worlds. We know that Clu couldn't create life, only modify what already existed, so it makes sense to think that Ares wasn't created by Clu, but modified by him. If so, Ares isn't just another program, he is the evolution of Clu's plan, a creation capable of escaping the grid and bringing his idea of perfection into the real world, and Ares may not be aware of his purpose.
I'm looking for something. Something I do not understand.
In mythology, Ares was the god of war and destruction. He was known for his raw violence, brutal impulses, and tendency to sow chaos without reason. Therefore, Ares could be the successor of the MCP and Clu, the entity that desires control over humanity through chaos. Another interesting point is that this new identity triangle shares a very similar shape to the portal in Tron Legacy. It can't be a coincidence. They both share the same geometry, and if the portal were the only door between the two worlds, then perhaps the triangular disc was designed to cross it. This could point to this new identity triangle also being the key Ares used to escape the grid. The triangle is angular and looks more intimidating as a weapon for the character, and it wouldn't be surprising if we see in the movie a disc user facing off against a triangle user. We don't expect all the answers about the identity triangle to be revealed in the film, and according to the director, these triangles are not replacing the iconic discs. Therefore, perhaps it's something unique to Ares, and more than a weapon or identity object, it's an escape key. Now, are there any clues connecting Ares to the Master Control program? Edward Dillinger, the man who modified a chess game program to gain power within Encom, the creator of the Master Control program, and the thief of Flynn's creations, was succeeded by his son Ed Jr. in Tron Legacy.
OS 12 is the most secure operating system ever released. The idea of sharing our software or giving it away for free disappeared with Kevin Flynn.
And in Tron Ares, Ed Jr. is believed to have been succeeded by his son, Edward Sr.'s grandson, Julian Dillinger. So there is a strong possibility that, just as one Dillinger created the MCP, another Dillinger created Ares, completing the unholy trinity I mentioned earlier. Ares could be an ISO corrupted by Clu sent to destroy the world, a program modified by Julian to restore his family's reputation, or perhaps a mixture of both. What is clear is that Ares promises to be the first artificial intelligence to make large-scale contact with humans.
Citizens, there are paranoids, space paranoids among us. So what are you going to do about it?
Deep in space and far below, a sneak attack and an evil plan. Now we fight to defend our land. We go snapping skies.
From the very first Tron film, the Dillinger family became known for their desire for power, and the first trailer of Tron Ares showed that a new Dillinger would be in the movie. Evan Peters plays Edward Dillinger's grandson, Julian. Ed Dillinger became infamous for stealing other people's work and modifying it for his malicious purposes. He was responsible for creating a major threat to the human world, the Master Control Program. Now, about Tron possibly being Ares, it's important to understand that the Dillinger family never could create. They steal and modify what already exists. Edward Dillinger was one of the best programmers at Encom, yet he was never able to create an original idea. All of his work was modifications. His greatest creation was the MCP, which was a modified program that used to play chess. And Ed's rise to power at Encom was mostly thanks to the video game software he stole from Kevin Flynn. Dillinger wasn't creative, but he was ambitious, and that was reflected in the program modifications he made. The result of his actions as we know it led to the creation of the Master Control Program, the artificial intelligence that nearly escaped the grid to take control of the world's defense systems. In Tron Legacy, a Dillinger family member was still employed by Encom, but not as a grunt software maker, but as a board member of the company. Edward Dillinger's son, Ed Jr., was one of the company's most prominent programmers and worked to change Encom's software distribution model, something that Flynn's son, Sam, disrupted by hacking into Encom and releasing the company's newest operating system for free, since charging people money for it was against his father's wishes. Although Ed Jr. isn't portrayed as an antagonist in his brief appearance in Tron Legacy, it's clear that his interests weren't entirely aligned with his fellow board members. Like his father, he wanted to grow his power and influence within the company. He didn't care about helping humanity, only about increasing the company's financial well-being and improving his family's reputation. Wanting larger profit margins for a company is understandable, but it raises a big red flag when the desire comes from the son of the person who created the MCP. Perhaps allowing Ed Jr. to stay at Encom was a big mistake, as his son might be destined to do what his grandfather nearly did, destroy the world with the help of a corrupted version of Tron. Julian Dillinger is the grandson of Ed Dillinger, played by Evan Peters. Not much is known about this person, but based on the first teaser trailer of Tron Ares, Julian kind of looks like he's inside the grid. We know that he does have an interest in artificial intelligence, but as a member of the Dillinger clan, we must understand that his family's history and archetype are not that of creators, but that of corruptors. Just as his grandfather created the Master Control Program, Julian could be the one who creates Ares. Ed Jr., Julian's father, oversaw the development of Encom's Operating System 12, even though it incorporated code created by Kevin Flynn. Being that a Dillinger has been at Encom since the 1970s, it's possible that the family still has saved somewhere Flynn's games that were stolen by Ed Dillinger Sr., also all versions of Encom's OS, and all the products the Dillinger family has modified over the decades. Possibly the Dillinger family has better backup versions of Kevin Flynn's life's work, and once you comprehend this, you'll begin to see what Ares could be.
I'm looking for something. Something I do not understand.
If the MCP was originally a chess-playing program that, under Dillinger's corruption, transformed into a power-hungry and controlling AI, what other monstrosities could he have created just by modifying Flynn's games? What if he got his hands on a certain program that destroyed his greatest bastardization? What could a Dillinger create if they had access to Tron? Now the story gets interesting. The fate of Edward Dillinger Sr. after he was outed as a thief is unknown, but his legacy lives on within Encom through his son and grandson. Just as Ed Dillinger modified the MCP for his selfish benefit, someone in his family could have modified a copy of the program that destroyed it. Tron, the program that fought for the users, but now does the opposite. Now, are there any clues that point to Ares being a Dillinger family creation, their version of Tron? Well, I did mention one glaring detail in a previous video, the one where we talked about the new identity triangle. Here's the image again for your convenience. Look closely at Ares' identity triangle on his back. You can see the word Dillinger above it, which looks like a seal or logo. It could be the mark of a new version of the grid that wasn't created to serve users or to test programs, but to expand corporate control, the Dillinger grid. One crazy theory I'll be exploring further in the future is that the grid in the Tron Ares trailer is completely red because it's driven by this family's selfish ambition. But the most important clue of all could be the name Ares itself. In the first Tron movie, Tron was introduced as a hero. The program embodied faith in the users and fought to protect them. But in Tron Legacy, his legacy and his faith were corrupted by Clue. Although the story focused on Kevin Flynn's mistakes, the film showed how a legacy based on hope can easily be corrupted and turn into a shadow of its former self. How faith in others can be used by the system to fragment one's identity and drive us to fight against the people we love. In Tron Uprising, Tron is no longer just an individual program. His name, his history, his resistance became something bigger, a symbol. Tron became an idea to live by among the oppressed programs of the grid. It's no longer just who Tron is as an individual. It's what he represents: hope, freedom, and faith in the users. And throughout the series, his importance grows. How Tron as a figure, as a legend, begins to change and inspire others to rise against the grid. Tron Legacy, Tron Uprising, and the title of each episode of the animated series are tied to Tron. Now analyzing the title of the new film, and Ares being the god of war and destruction, could mean that the next movie will show us a side of Tron that we haven't seen yet. His destructive side, a harbinger of war and chaos. He is no longer a guardian, he is now the opposite. And if Ares is a version of Tron that was corrupted by Julian Dillinger, that would make him the most tragic character in this franchise. Tron was created to protect the grid and the users. His ultimate fate now appears to be of the one that brings about the end of the world. The biggest clue was always right in front of us. The reason the new movie is titled Tron Ares is simple. Ares is Tron, the Dillinger version of Tron. The series is about to encounter the greatest threat it has ever faced. So what do you think? Are you, like me, wondering where Kevin Flynn is? Did he die at the end of Legacy? Are the Dillingers destined to create the end of the world? Is a corrupted Tron going to bring the grid into the human world?
It's what he wants.
What happened to Korra, the last of the Isos?
I should never have sent you to Zeus. It was a mistake.
The arrival of the isomorphic algorithms was a miracle event that changed the Tron universe forever. It forced Kevin Flynn to pause his pursuit of perfection, to study and learn that something more unexpected could exist inside the grid. It was also thanks to the birth of the Isos that Clue took a different path.
The Purge.
An obsession that will lead the shadow of the creator to purge all he considered an anomaly.
Clue was relentless.
Years have passed since, and now the grid has begun to invade the human world. And the biggest absentees in this new adventure are those who are supposed to represent the digital father's will in the real world.
Sam! It's time!
What happens when the son of the digital father and the living miracle are sent to the human world but fail to achieve their goal? Korra is the last of the Isos, the isomorphic algorithms, a race of digital beings born from the sea of the grid. The Isos were meant to be the miracle capable of changing the human world in all aspects: medical, philosophical, religious, everything. But because of Clue, the Isos' existence was kept secret, as Flynn was trapped inside the grid. Sam Flynn and Korra escaped the grid at the end of Tron Legacy. But after the casting and the teaser trailer for the next installment of the Tron franchise were revealed, we all asked the same glaring question: where are Korra and Sam? In addition, we were wondering why the human world looks as if the ISO hadn't changed anything.
Speeds of 120 miles per hour, last seen heading northbound.
Unit 12, acknowledging dispatch. Already in pursuit.
Was Tron Legacy removed from canon, or was it retconned? Did something bad happen to Sam and Korra after they escaped the grid? To try to understand what might have happened to them, we must return to the Flynn's role in the story. Kevin Flynn was one of the heroes of the story, who entered into a new world and helped Tron, another hero in the story, to stop a major threat. In Tron Legacy, Flynn became a creator of a new world, betrayed by someone he trusted, and was isolated inside the world he created. Later, his only child, Sam, enters the grid and takes on the role of a new hero. If history is doomed to repeat itself, then Sam's story could have followed in his father's footsteps. After Sam returned to the real world, someone he trusted might have betrayed him, As a result, he ended up isolated from the happenings in the world, while the miracle, Korra, went into hiding, or worse, was eliminated.
I guess we're supposed to change the world.
Tron is not just science fiction, it is also loaded with symbolisms reminiscent of biblical literature. One of the most powerful ideas is the figure of the son, who is sent by the creator to bring change to the world. Sam Flynn represents the son of the creator, Kevin Flynn, his father, who created the grid, a god who gave rise to a new digital reality. And just as in religious texts, the son is sent into the world with a message of salvation. In Tron, the son doesn't bring a message, but a being, Korra.
Shut it down now!
Relax. Relax. It's under control.
Relax?
A little gift from Ancom.
In Tron Legacy, Ed Dillinger's son held a controlling position at Encom, possibly waiting for the perfect moment to take over the company like his father did. If the Dillingers are always meant to be the antagonists, obsessed with protecting Encom's financial interests, as we mentioned in our previous video, then the existence of the ISOs in the real world would affect the company's margins. And so Korra's existence threatens Encom's control, and the Dillingers would never allow such a threat to exist. Encom is the world's leading company in artificial intelligence software, and if it were proven that the ISOs are sentient beings, the company would no longer be able to sell or exploit their programs. Therefore, the most logical theory is that the Dillinger family saw Sam and Korra as the end of their empire, as a threat to Encom, and so they decided to get rid of them. The son who was sent into the world that was rejected and betrayed by the world. Just like the digital father, history has repeated itself. Kevin Flynn could have created a utopia, and so could Sam, but both failed, and both strayed from their purpose. That's why in the Tron Ares teaser trailer, we don't see any noticeable change. Everything looks the same. The ISO has changed nothing. It is a world without Sam, without Korra, a world where the Dillingers continue to have control. Even if we are right, the Dillingers and Encom can't keep the existence of the ISOs born from the grid a secret forever. The most common question about the ending of Tron Legacy is, how did Korra escape to the human world if she was a computer program? For years, fans theorized that it was thanks to Kevin Flynn that Korra crossed over to the real world. How, you may ask? Let me explain. So according to this crazy theory, Flynn's body disintegrated the moment his son and Korra left the grid, the same moment when he and Clue became one again. Then his residual matter was used to build Korra a body outside the grid. In other words, Korra is formed with the reconfigured atoms of her mentor's physical form. That would make her a kind of divine reincarnation, the spiritual daughter of the grid, born from a miracle incarnated with the body of the digital father. Quite poetic, don't you think? Almost divine. Nevertheless, this theory has now been dismissed since the first trailer for Tron Ares dropped. The appearance of a recognizer, the gigantic ship with two legs in the real world, suggests that all programs, even vehicles, can invade the real world, something that Kevin Flynn wanted to avoid. The claim that only ISOs can cross into the real world was never proven. So if the son of the digital father, Sam, was rejected and isolated, and if the living digital miracle, Korra, was silenced or eliminated, then the world may be condemned to shadow. Humanity may have to face a new sun, created not from light, but from darkness. A new program designed not to illuminate, but to destroy, and its name is Ares. Ares is invading the real world, armed with his triangular disc and a fragmented identity. He wears the color red, that of fury, violence, absolute control. Ares is not a miracle, he's a calamity created by a Dillinger offspring, the antithesis of Kevin Flynn. Kevin Flynn was the digital god or father, and the Dillingers are, well, the devil, and Ares is the digital antichrist, a corrupted version of the savior who comes to the human world to destroy it.
I play Ares, who is master control of the Dillinger security grid.
The Isos were spontaneous life born from the pursuit of perfection. Ares is death, the result of the pursuit of power. A mutation born from Encom's version of the grid, the result of greed, control, and ambition. The story of Tron is of two forces, one that creates and one that destroys, one that desires to improve the world and another that seeks to control it. It is two families fighting for the future of multiple worlds, the struggle between the Dillingers and the Flynns, and the Tron Ares teaser may have proven this. Julian Dillinger, descendant of Ed Dillinger, appears within a new version of the grid, completely bathed in red, indicating that the system has been corrupted. This grid may not believe in the users, it just wants to control everything. A perfect Dillinger system. We don't know where Cora could be, or if she's even alive. And Sam? Well, we don't know either, but I'm willing to bet that, like his father, he's off somewhere, reflecting on the change he might have brought to the world. Maybe. So what do you think? Could Tron Ares be about what happens when the world rejects a miracle? I'm a Gloomy Geek, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes. Will this be a problem? You may not be his father, but he's still a Flynn. Don't underestimate him. End of line.